Moving on to page 2 of your worksheets packet, you're going to start working on Artboard 2, layer titled page 2. So I'm going to go ahead and lock page 1 and unlock page 2. Use my zoom tool to zoom into my artboard number 2 and go back to my selection. First one on this page says to create 6 vertical rectangles. So I'm going to go ahead and create those 6 rectangles. Remember, you can also use a copy and paste function, so I can select this rectangle, Control C to copy, Control V as in Victor to paste, to get my 6 rectangles that I need. Then says to align them on the bottom. To do so, you're going to have to view your align window. So that's your align toolbox, just similar to your layers toolbox and your colors toolbox. Whenever you need to pull up a toolbox, you're going to go to window at the top and find the toolbox you need. So I'm going to grab my align. Make sure you can see align objects, distribute objects, and distribute spacing. If you can't, go to this icon and make sure it says to check show options. So I'm going to align those across the bottom and go ahead and use the selection tool to select all 6 at one time and go to my align objects and find the tool that looks like it'll align them on the bottom. It then says to distribute them with equal spacing. So I'm going to go down to distribute spacing, find the icon that looks like it's going to distribute that spacing equally across, and go ahead and click that button. Last thing it says is to group. Notice if I select one object, it selects that single object. What I want to do is I want it to have it so if I select one object, it selects all 6. So I'm going to go ahead, use my selection tool to start by selecting all 6. Go to object at the top because I want to manipulate my objects, and group, or I can simply press Control G. So you'll know it worked if you click off and you select one shape, all 6 shapes select. Next one says to turn the group on an angle, so I'm just going to use my Control C, Control V functions. Use my selection tool to hover, holding Shift, turn on a perfect angle. Next one says to use the direct selection tool, which is the white arrow, to change the colors of some of your shapes. So I'm just going to paste that group again. Now if I am on my selection tool and I have all 6 of those shapes selected, I can change the color of each one of those shapes as a group. If I go to my direct selection tool and I select one single shape, I can change the color of one single shape, even though it's still a group. The direct selection tool will directly select a single object within a group or a single point of an object. If we move down to the next row, it says to create an ellipse. I'm going to go to my Shapes tools and find my ellipse tool. And I'm going to create a perfect ellipse. It says with the direct selection tool, delete one of the ellipse's anchors or points. So I'm going to select this shape and I'm going to select, let's say, my south point. Ellipses have 4 points, north, east, south, west. I'm going to select my south point so just that one is active. Then I'm going to press delete on my keyboard. Right now this is a path, it has 2 open end points. I need to make it an object, so I have to close the shape using the pen tool. I just click on both of those open end points and now the shape is officially now the path is officially an object. It says to copy and paste that ellipse and reflect it horizontally. So I'm going to select it. I can go to edit at the top, copy, or simply use my commands, my keyboard commands. So I'm going to go to Control C, Control V. It says to reflect that shape horizontally. So with that shape selected, I'm going to go to Object because I want to manipulate my object, Transform, and Reflect. Look at the icons. It's going to reflect this up and down. This would reflect left and right. And I want to make a copy of it. Now it says to group. So I'll select both of them. And I'm going to simply use my keyboard command of Control G as in group. Last one says to copy and paste this shape and turn it horizontally. So I'm just copy and pasting with my selection tool. I'm holding Shift to do a perfect horizontal rotation. Moving down, it says to create a shape and using the knife tool, cut it into 3 parts. So if I create another ellipse, I'm going to stick with my theme here and go to the knife tool. Knife tool is grouped with the erasers and the scissors. So I'm going to go to the knife tool. Notice with the knife tool, it's a free draw. If I hold down Alt, I can do a straight line. If I hold down Alt and Shift, I have perfect horizontal, vertical, 90-degree angles. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that right there. Make sure you're cutting the shape that's selected, otherwise it will not cut. Next one says to using the shape and the type tool, fill a shape with text. So I'm just going to make yet another ellipse. I'm keeping with a theme. Type tool is located right above all those shapes tools. When I select my type tool, notice around that cursor is a dotted box. That means I'm going to create a new text box. I don't want to do that. I want to type within this circle shape here. So when I have this dialog or this cursor up, when I hover over that shape, notice it goes from square to circle. Once I click as it's on that circle, I can type within that shape. Go back to my selection tool whenever I change tools. The last one is the most complicated one. It says to make a circle with the pen tool to the best of your ability. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my pen tool. I want my stroke to be black and my fill to be none, so I'm going to go ahead and swap those. And if you remember what I said before, a circle has 4 points, the north, east, south, and west. I'm going to start with the north. So with my pen tool, I'm going to click and let go. That's my first point. Coming down to my imaginary east, and I'm going to click and hold. I have not let go of my mouse. And I'm going to drag down because I want my curve to go up. Now remember, with this anchor, I just told Illustrator that my next curve should go down. I'm going to have it go down and around to my south point. Click and drag. Just told Illustrator I want my next path to go up, to go to the left, and I want it to go up. So I'm going to click on my east or my west point. Click and drag. And then right back to that north point. I'm going to go back to my selection tool, and I'm going to do a quick save, file, save, or I can simply press Control S.